The massive survey ship Stellar Observer drifted silently through the void, its sensors sweeping across the small yellow star and its family of planets. Inside the command center, Captain Zixtor leaned forward in his chair, his 4 eyes narrowing at the display. "We're picking up unusual energy signatures from the third planet, Captain," reported Officer Milu, her tentacles dancing across the control panel. "It doesn't match our records." Zixtor tilted his scaled head. This system had been marked in the Galactic Federation database centuries ago as containing no viable worlds for colonization, especially the third planet, which had been classified as a death world, a planet so hostile that no intelligent life could possibly evolve there. "Bring us closer," ordered Zixtor, "but maintain stealth protocols." As the ship moved toward the blue-green world, the crew grew increasingly confused. The readings made no sense. The planet had wild temperature swings, crushing gravity, constant tectonic activity, dangerous radiation levels, and an atmosphere containing highly reactive oxygen. "This can't be right," said Dr. Nalim, the ship's xenobiologist. Her delicate frame trembled slightly as she analyzed the data. "There are artificial structures all over the surface, and electromagnetic communications, lots of them." "Impossible," whispered Zixtor. "Nothing could survive there, let alone build a civilization." But the evidence was clear. The planet the locals called Earth was teeming with life, including an advanced technological species that had built cities, launched satellites, and was broadcasting signals into space. Meanwhile, at the Deep Space Communications Array in Arizona, Dr. Alan Wright was working the night shift. The 45-year-old astrobiologist had been monitoring the usual background noise of space when his equipment detected something unusual. "That's not one of ours," he muttered, adjusting his glasses. The signal pattern was too regular, too precise to be natural, and it was coming from just beyond the moon's orbit. Alan's heart raced as he ran the signal through the decoding software. After 20 minutes, the computer produced a partial translation, a message in a mathematical language announcing the presence of visitors from beyond Earth. "Holy!" Alan fumbled for his phone and called his supervisor. Within an hour, the facility was buzzing with activity. Government officials arrived by helicopter before dawn. Back on the Stellar Observer the crew continued their scans in disbelief. "They use combustion engines," reported the technology officer. "They burn fossil fuels. Their buildings would collapse in a mild gravity shift. Their bodies are mostly water. They live in an oxygen-rich environment that would cause most species to spontaneously combust." "How do they survive?" wondered Dr. Nalim. "The microbes alone in their atmosphere would kill any of us in minutes without protection suits." Captain Zixtor made his decision. "Send the first contact message. The Galactic Council needs to know about this immediately." The alien transmission reached Earth's major government centers within hours. Emergency meetings were called. Military forces went on alert, and Dr. Alan Wright found himself rushed to Washington to advise on the biological implications. "It's really happening," Alan told his colleague on the phone as his plane landed. "First contact, everything I've worked for my entire career." 3 days later, the Stellar Observer decloaked in Earth's orbit. Television broadcasts worldwide showed the massive ship hovering above the planet. Captain Zixtor's translated message played on every channel. "Greetings, inhabitants of Earth. We represent the Galactic Federation, a peaceful alliance of intelligent species. We are confused. Our records indicated no advanced life could possibly exist on your world. Your planet contains more deadly environments than any inhabited world we have ever encountered. We request permission to send representatives to understand how you have survived and thrived in conditions that should have made your evolution impossible." As humanity absorbed the shocking news that aliens existed, the aliens themselves were even more shocked to discover humans existed on a planet they had long classified as the deadliest in the known galaxy. 1 week after first contact, The United Nations building in New York buzzed with activity. World leaders had quickly formed the Extraterrestrial Relations Division, and Susan Garcia had been chosen to lead Earth's Welcome Committee. The 38-year-old diplomat smoothed her navy blue suit and checked her notes one last time. "They're entering our atmosphere now," said a young aide, pointing to a screen showing the small shuttle descending from the Stellar Observer *. Susan nodded. "Remember, everyone, stay calm and move slowly. Their environmental suits are bulky, and they're not used to our gravity." The shuttle landed on the specially prepared pad outside. Security teams formed a perimeter as the ramp lowered with a soft hiss. 3 figures emerged, walking awkwardly in thick protective gear that resembled deep-sea diving suits. "Welcome to Earth," Susan said warmly, being careful not to extend her hand as the briefing had warned about alien contact protocols. "I am Susan Garcia, representing humanity." The tallest alien stepped forward. Its voice came through a translator device with a slight metallic echo. "I am Ambassador Krelvox of the Galactic Federation. We are still in disbelief that you exist." Inside the protective helmets, Susan could see their alien features, large eyes, scaled skin, and expressions that seemed to convey a mixture of wonder and fear. The delegation moved carefully into the building where a special conference room had been prepared with air filters and gravity adjustments for the visitors' comfort. Even with these modifications, the aliens moved uncomfortably. "Your world is extraordinary," said Dr. Nalneem, the xenobiologist. "We detected 17 different biohazards just walking from our shuttle to this building. Yet you stand here unprotected." Susan smiled. "What hazards do you mean exactly?" Dr. Nalneem's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Pollen, bacteria, fungal spores, microscopic invertebrates. Any one of these would cause serious illness for most Federation species." Ambassador Krelvox settled carefully into a reinforced chair. "Our records classified Earth as a death world centuries ago. Too geologically unstable, too much gravity, too many dangerous life forms, too much radiation. The very air you breathe would be toxic to most intelligent species." Susan tried to hide her surprise. "We find Earth quite comfortable, actually." The aliens exchanged glances that Susan couldn't interpret. "We would like to request a tour of Earth's most hospitable environments," Ambassador Krelvox said, "to understand how you survive here." Susan hesitated. "I should warn you, what we consider pleasant might be dangerous for you." The meeting continued for hours as both sides shared basic information. The aliens were fascinated by everyday details of human life and horrified by what humans endured daily. "You experience temperature variations of over 40 degrees in a single day," gasped Dr. Nalneem when Susan described desert climates. "And people live there voluntarily." "Wait until I tell them about hurricanes," Susan whispered to her aide. Later, in a private meeting with world leaders, Susan reported on the aliens' reactions. "They're afraid of us," she explained. "Not because we're hostile, but because they can't understand how we survive conditions they consider lethal. Their homeworlds are carefully controlled environments with minimal variation." The president leaned forward. "Is this an advantage or a problem?" Susan considered carefully. "Both. They respect our resilience, but that same resilience makes them nervous." Ambassador Krelvox mentioned that the full Federation Council is debating how to classify humans. "Classify us? What does that mean?" asked the British Prime Minister. "They have categories for all sentient species," Susan explained. "Some are listed as allies, others as developing, and some as potential threats. Our ability to thrive in environments they consider deadly has some Federation members wondering which category fits us best." As the meeting ended, Susan's phone buzzed with a message from the alien delegation. They had agreed to a tour of Earth, starting with what humans considered mild environments. Susan smiled at their first request. They wanted to see a place called Central Park, but were requesting extensive safety protocols for the visit. "They haven't even seen Yellowstone yet," she murmured to herself. Dr. Naldim stared in horror through her protective visor as children ran barefoot through the grass at Yellowstone National Park. Her instruments detected dozens of microorganisms with every scan. The Federation xenobiologist couldn't believe humans allowed their young to touch such dangerous surfaces without protection. "They're just playing," said Dr. Alan Wright with a smile. The astrobiologist had been assigned to guide the alien scientists during their Earth tour. Kids need exposure to nature. It helps build their immune systems. "Immune systems," repeated Naldim, the translator making her voice sound flat. "Yes, our data suggests human bodies actually become stronger when attacked by pathogens. For most species, any exposure means severe illness or death." Ellen nodded. "Our bodies are constantly at war with microbes. We've evolved alongside them." A short distance away, tourists gathered around Old Faithful as the geyser prepared to erupt. The alien security team moved nervously, their sensors detecting the heat and pressure building underground. "Please move away from that eruption zone," called one guard. "It's dangerously unstable." Alen laughed. "It's perfectly safe. Watch, it happens every 90 minutes or so." When Old Faithful burst upward in a spray of hot water and steam, 3 alien scientists fell backward in their heavy suits. Their instruments shrieked warnings about scalding temperatures, minerals toxic to their biology, and atmospheric contamination. Yet human families stood nearby, taking photos and smiling. "You bring your young to see active geological hazards," whispered Naldim. For entertainment. Later that day, the aliens recorded their findings at the secure base camp they had established. "Humans casually expose themselves to conditions that would kill most Federation species instantly," reported Dr. Naldim. "They swim in oceans containing salt concentrations that would dehydrate our tissues. They hike in forests filled with biological agents that would cause immediate immune collapse for us." Ambassador Krelvox reviewed the data with growing concern. "And their diets. They willingly consume plants containing compounds that would paralyze any of us. Some even seek out food items they call spicy that contain defensive chemicals designed to cause pain." The next morning, Alan met Dr. Naldim for their scheduled visit to the Grand Canyon. He brought coffee for himself and noticed her flinch when she scanned it. "You're drinking a toxin," she said. Alan sipped his coffee. "Caffeine. It's a mild stimulant for us. Helps wake us up in the morning." "Your idea of mild concerns me," replied Naldim. Their air transport flew over the vast canyon, and Alan watched with amusement as the alien scientists pressed against the windows. "You carved this with water?" asked one researcher in disbelief. "Not us. Nature did it over millions of years," explained Alan. "The Colorado River cuts through the rock little by little." Dr. Naldim's instruments analyzed the cliff faces. "These formations are unstable. Rock slides could occur at any time. Yet you build viewing platforms and hiking trails here." Ellen shrugged. "We take some precautions, but yes, there's always some risk." That evening at the Human-Alien Joint Research Facility, Dr. Naldim shared her observations with Susan Garcia. "Your species evolved on a planet that should have killed you 1,000 times over," the alien scientist said. "Instead of dying, you adapted. You became stronger. Our preliminary research suggests human cellular structures are far more resilient than any other intelligent species we've encountered." Susan nodded. "Is that good or bad from the Federation's perspective?" Dr. Naldim's 4-fingered hand adjusted a dial on her suit. "Some find it fascinating. Others find it frightening. If humans can thrive in environments lethal to other species, what else might you be capable of?" Susan noticed the subtle shift in the conversation. "We're not a threat to anyone. We're just well adapted to our home." "Yes," said Dr. Naldim, her large eyes blinking. "But some in the Federation wonder what might happen when humans leave their home and discover how uniquely durable they are compared to other species." Susan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. The aliens weren't just curious scientists anymore. They were beginning to see humans as something else entirely. The Federation scientists gathered in their sealed laboratory at the Joint Research Facility. They had spent 3 weeks studying human physiology and still couldn't explain how such fragile-looking beings survived on Earth. Their children play in dirt filled with billions of microorganisms, said Dr. Nalim, displaying images on the main screen. They breathe air containing nitrogen, oxygen, argon, and carbon dioxide, a mix that would poison most Federation species. Another scientist, Dr. Vrel, added, they can endure radiation levels that would kill any of us within hours. Their skin actually darkens to protect them from solar exposure rather than burning away. Inside the adjacent observation room, Navy Lieutenant Jack Miller waited patiently. The 30-year-old test pilot had volunteered for the Cultural Exchange Program. Today, he would demonstrate human physical capabilities for the alien researchers. Dr. Nalim entered the room in her protective suit. We appreciate your participation, Lieutenant Miller. Jack smiled. Happy to help. What do you need me to do? We'd like to observe your recovery from minor physical stress, she explained. Nothing dangerous. For the next hour, Jack ran on a treadmill, lifted weights, and performed various physical tests. The aliens monitored his vital signs with growing amazement. Your heart rate increases to pump more oxygen, then returns to normal quickly, observed Dr. Nalim. And you're sweating, releasing water through your skin to cool yourself. Most species would need days to recover from such exertion. Jack laughed. This is just a light workout. I do more than this every morning. Later that day, Dr. Nalim accidentally dropped a metal instrument while examining Jack's health records. When she bent to retrieve it, her suit tore slightly along the arm. Breach, shouted Dr. Vrel, rushing to seal the small tear with emergency patch material. Get her to decontamination immediately. Jack watched in confusion as the aliens hurried their colleague from the room in what seemed like panic. He learned later that Dr. Nalim would spend 3 days in intensive care from the brief exposure to Earth's atmosphere. Meanwhile, in the Federation ship orbiting Earth, Captain Zix Tor was meeting with a new arrival, General Krax of the Arcturus Hegemony, a military faction within the Federation. These humans concern me, said General Krax, his armored exoskeleton clicking as he moved. Look at the data. They heal from injuries in days that would take our species months to recover from. Their bones mend after breaking. Their immune systems fight off millions of pathogens daily. Captain Zix Tor tilted his head. They've shown no hostility. They're curious, like us. General Krax's eyes narrowed. Today they're curious. But what happens when they learn that environments lethal to us are merely uncomfortable to them? What happens when they discover they can survive on planets no other species can inhabit? Back at the research facility, Jack visited Dr. Nalim in the medical bay. Her room was sealed, and they spoke through an intercom. Are you okay? He asked. I didn't realize Earth air was so dangerous to you. The alien scientist's voice was weak. The microbes. Your world is teeming with life forms that attack any foreign biology. Your bodies fight them constantly without you even noticing. Jack frowned. I never thought of it that way. We just call it having an immune system. Lieutenant Miller, said Dr. Nalim, in my 500 years of xenobiology research, I've never encountered a species that evolved in such hostile conditions. It's as if your planet tried to kill your ancestors every day, and instead of dying, they grew stronger. Jack smiled. My grandfather had a saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Dr. Nalim was silent for a moment. That philosophy explains much about humans. It would terrify most Federation species. As Jack left the medical bay, he didn't notice the security cameras tracking his movement, nor did he know that every word of their conversation had been transmitted directly to General Krax, who was now drafting a report titled, Humans, Potential Existential Threat Assessment. Karen Peters walked quickly through the rain toward the Federation embassy. The 35-year-old journalist had received a tip about a secret meeting happening tonight. She pulled her coat tighter as thunder rumbled overhead. Inside the embassy, General Krax addressed a small group of Federation officials. "The humans represent an unacceptable risk," he said, displaying charts on the wall screen. "They evolved on a death world. Their biology is designed to survive conditions that would kill most sentient species. If they expand beyond their solar system, they could colonize planets we consider uninhabitable." Ambassador Krulbox raised a slender hand. "They have shown no aggressive intentions. Their technology is less advanced than ours." "For now," replied General Krax, "but they advance quickly. And consider their military. Their soldiers train by running for miles carrying heavy packs. They can go days with minimal sleep. Their bodies can process toxins that would kill us instantly." Outside in the rain, Karen had managed to position herself near a vent where she could hear parts of the conversation. She recorded everything on her phone, her reporter's instincts telling her this was big. Very big. General Krax continued, "I propose containment protocols. We should limit human expansion, restrict their access to advanced technology, and monitor their activities closely." Karen had heard enough. She slipped away into the night, already planning her next move. The following morning, Susan Garcia was reviewing diplomatic reports when Karen Peters requested an urgent meeting. "You need to hear this," Karen said, playing the recording. "They're talking about containing us, like we're some kind of threat." Susan listened carefully, her diplomatic experience helping her read between the lines. "This General Krax seems to be pushing an agenda, but he doesn't speak for the entire Federation. The public needs to know," insisted Karen. "This is the story of the century." Susan shook her head. "Publishing this could damage our relationship with the Federation. Give me time to address this through diplomatic channels first." Meanwhile, aboard the Stellar Observer Captain Zix Tor faced an increasingly divided crew. Many were fascinated by humans, while others feared them. "They drink beverages containing alcohol, a substance they know damages their cells, for pleasure," argued one science officer. "They deliberately expose themselves to heat until their skin burns, claiming it produces vitamin D. Their young engage in activities with high risk of physical injury, as sports." Captain Zix Tor considered these points. "Perhaps their resilience makes them view risk differently than we do." That afternoon, the Federation Council held an emergency session. General Krax presented his threat assessment. "Humans can survive in environments that would kill most of us," he explained. "This gives them access to resources on planets we cannot safely colonize. Their physical capabilities exceed ours in strength, endurance, and recovery from injury. Given time, they could become the dominant species in the galaxy simply because they can go places and do things we cannot." Dr. Nalim, still recovering from her exposure to Earth's atmosphere, addressed the council remotely. "Yes, humans are remarkably resilient," she admitted, "but we've observed no inherent hostility. Their adaptability is a product of their harsh evolutionary environment, not a sign of aggressive intent." The council debated for hours. Unknown to them, Susan Garcia had called an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders to discuss the situation. "We need to demonstrate that our resilience isn't a threat," she told them. "We need to show them that we can use our unique abilities to help the Federation, not harm it." The president nodded. "What do you propose?" "Joint missions," Susan suggested. "Let's show them what humans can do in environments they find challenging. Not as a show of force, but as an offer of partnership." As Susan outlined her plan, Karen Peters sat in her apartment reviewing the notes for her article. She had agreed to hold the story for 48 hours, giving diplomacy a chance. But her headline was already written. "Aliens fear human resilience. Are we too tough for the galaxy?" The California wildfire had been burning for 3 days. Smoke filled the sky as trees crackled and burned. Most people had evacuated the area, but a group of hikers remained trapped by the advancing flames. Ben Howard adjusted his fire-resistant gear and checked his oxygen mask. The 40-year-old firefighter had volunteered to lead the joint human-alien rescue mission. Beside him stood 3 Federation observers in their bulky environmental suits, their sensors already warning of extreme danger. "The temperature is approaching lethal levels," said Mirix, the Federation safety officer. "Your protective gear seems inadequate." Ben grinned. "It's hot, but we can handle it. My team works in these conditions every fire season." The alien observers watched in stunned silence as Ben and his human team moved directly toward the fire line. Their own environmental suits were already at maximum cooling capacity, and warnings flashed across their visors about toxic smoke particles and dangerous heat. "They're walking straight into conditions that would kill any of our species," Mirix reported back to the Federation Command Center. "Even with our advanced protective technology, we couldn't survive where they're going." Susan Garcia and Ambassador Krelvox monitored the mission from a command post several miles away. This was the first of several demonstrations Susan had arranged to show how humans could work in environments the aliens considered deadly. "Your people are deliberately entering a zone of active combustion," said Ambassador Krelvox, his voice conveying disbelief. Susan nodded. "Firefighters do this regularly. It's dangerous, yes, but with proper training and equipment, humans can function in these conditions." Through helmet cameras, they watched as Ben's team reached the stranded hikers. The Federation observers had been forced to retreat due to the extreme conditions, but the human rescue workers pushed forward. "We've got 4 survivors," Ben reported through his radio. "Moving back to the extraction point now." Across the world, another joint mission was underway. Dr. Olivia Martinez led a team of marine specialists to repair an undersea research station. Federation observers watched from a special pressurized vessel as the humans descended in relatively simple diving gear. "The pressure at that depth would crush our bodies," reported a Federation scientist, "and they're exposing themselves to salt water that would cause immediate cellular breakdown for our species." Dr. Martinez and her team completed the repairs in 2 hours, working calmly under conditions that the aliens considered impossible to survive. Back at the wildfire, Ben's team successfully evacuated all the stranded hikers. When they returned to the command post, the Federation observers were still recovering from their brief exposure to the fire's heat and smoke. "How can you tolerate such conditions?" asked Mirix, watching Ben remove his mask and take a drink of water. "Our medical data suggests the temperatures you endured should have caused organ failure." Ben shrugged. "Humans are pretty tough. We've evolved to handle extreme situations." That evening, Susan Garcia met with the Federation Council via secure video link. The demonstrations had produced mixed reactions. "These humans are even more resilient than we thought," said Dr. Nalim. "They function efficiently in environments that would kill most species instantly." General Krax leaned forward. "Exactly my point. Their natural abilities give them access to resources and territories no other species can claim. This makes them a strategic threat, or valuable allies," countered Ambassador Krelvox. "Imagine what we could accomplish with human teams helping us on hostile worlds." Susan listened carefully to the debate. The demonstrations had proven human capabilities, but instead of alleviating fears, they seemed to have intensified the division among the Federation representatives. Some were impressed and saw potential for cooperation. Others, particularly General Krax and his supporters, viewed these same abilities as evidence that humans needed to be contained. As the meeting ended, Susan received an urgent message from the Meteorological Service. A massive solar flare had been detected, heading directly toward Earth. It would hit within 24 hours, bringing radiation levels that would endanger the Federation visitors, even those in orbit. She looked up at the alien faces on screen. "We may have an opportunity to demonstrate human resilience again," she said. "But this time, it won't be planned." Red warning lights flashed throughout the Federation ships in Earth orbit. The massive solar flare was approaching fast, bringing radiation that would penetrate their shields. Emergency evacuation orders sent alien crews rushing to escape pods. "We can't leave in time," reported Captain Zix Tor. Half our ships have system failures from the initial radiation wave. On Earth, Susan Garcia coordinated with global authorities as Federation personnel sought shelter. What humans considered a serious but manageable event was an extinction-level disaster for the visitors. Their biology can't handle the radiation, explained Dr. Alan Wright during an emergency briefing. Even their advanced technology can't fully protect them. Weather satellites showed the solar storm engulfing Earth's magnetic field. Communication systems crackled with static as the first electromagnetic pulses hit. For humans, it meant power outages and communication disruptions. For the aliens, it meant life support failures and imminent death. At Yellowstone National Park, Federation scientists found themselves trapped when their transport ship lost power. Steve Mitchell, a 38-year-old park ranger, received their distress call. "Stay inside your facility," he instructed over the emergency radio. "I'm coming to get you." The aliens were shocked by his response. "The radiation levels are rising beyond safe parameters for any species," warned Dr. Nalim. "You cannot expose yourself to these conditions." Steve was already loading supplies into his truck. "We deal with emergencies all the time out here. This is just another day at work." As Steve drove through the growing storm, Federation ships in orbit faced disaster. 3 vessels had lost power completely. Captain Zix watched in disbelief as emergency alerts flooded his command center. "Human space authorities are offering assistance," reported his communications officer. "They say they can reach us with radiation-hardened rescue craft." "Impossible," said General Krax, who was stranded aboard the flagship. "No ship could function in these radiation levels." But within hours, human space rescue teams launched. Their vessels, designed to operate during solar events, approached the disabled alien ships. The human crews wore protective gear that seemed simple compared to alien technology, yet allowed them to function. Back at Yellowstone, Steve reached the alien research facility. He unloaded radiation shields made from simple materials and began constructing a protected transport area in his truck. "These won't block everything," he explained to the frightened aliens, "but they'll reduce exposure enough to get you to the underground shelter at the visitor center." Dr. Nalim's instruments detected radiation levels that should have been immediately fatal. "How are you still functioning?" she asked Steve. He shrugged while working. "Human bodies can handle some radiation exposure. Not ideal, but we won't die from these levels, at least not right away." Across Earth, similar scenes played out as humans helped stranded aliens. In orbit, human rescue teams attached power sources to Federation ships, restoring life support systems. Federation crew members watched in awe as humans worked outside in conditions their own safety protocols classified as unsurvivable. At the Emergency Command Center, Susan Garcia received reports from around the world. Human emergency services continued functioning with minimal disruption, while alien visitors required extensive protection to survive what they considered apocalyptic conditions. "Your entire civilization should be collapsing," said Ambassador Krulvox, safely contained in a special chamber. "Yet your people seem merely inconvenienced." Susan smiled tiredly. "We've evolved on a planet with regular solar activity. Our infrastructure is designed to handle it, and our bodies can tolerate the radiation better than yours." In his protected truck, Steve Mitchell drove carefully through the storm, with 6 alien scientists huddled under makeshift radiation shields. They watched him with new understanding as he casually operated in conditions their biology classified as lethal. "You evolved on a world that constantly tries to kill you," said Dr. Nalim softly. "That explains much about humans." Steve checked his radiation badge, which had turned yellow, showing exposure but not yet dangerous levels. "I never thought about it that way," he replied. "We just call it Tuesday." As the solar storm reached its peak, the Federation's perspective on humanity was changing dramatically. These weren't just resilient beings. They were survivors of conditions that would have prevented most species from evolving intelligence at all. 1 month after the solar flare crisis, the Great Council of the Galactic Federation gathered for a special session. The massive chamber hummed with conversation as representatives from 200 worlds discussed the human question. Ambassador Krelvok stood before them, his once skeptical expression now replaced with respect. "We must reconsider our classification of Earth and its people," he announced. "What we labeled a death world has produced a species unlike any we've encountered before." Dr. Nalhim presented the scientific findings. Humans evolved on a planet with extreme temperature variations, constant tectonic activity, deadly radiation, atmospheric oxygen, and millions of pathogens. Instead of dying out, they adapted. Their bodies developed extraordinary repair mechanisms, immune responses, and environmental tolerances. Images appeared on the chamber's screen showing humans functioning in environments lethal to most Federation species. Firefighters entering burning buildings, divers exploring crushing ocean depths, scientists working in radiation zones. Even General Krax, who had advocated for containment protocols, seemed impressed by the evidence. During the solar crisis, he admitted, human rescue teams saved 4 Federation vessels and over 300 lives by working in conditions our own emergency crews couldn't survive. Their resilience, which I once viewed as threatening, protected us when our technology failed. The Council debated for hours before reaching a historic decision. Earth would be reclassified from Death World to Crucible World, a planet whose extreme conditions forge uniquely capable species. On Earth, Susan Garcia received the news in the Oval Office alongside the President and Dr. Alan Wright. "The Federation proposes a new role for humanity," she explained, reading from the official transmission. "They want us to serve as rescue specialists, environmental pioneers, and intermediaries for worlds too hostile for standard Federation operations." The President leaned forward. "They're offering us immediate membership in the Federation." Susan nodded. "With special status. Our unique evolutionary history gives us capabilities no other species possesses. They want to establish joint training facilities where humans can teach Federation personnel survival techniques." Dr. Wright smiled. "So our deadly planet is suddenly our greatest asset." 3 months later, construction began on the first human-crewed Federation ship. Unlike standard vessels, it was designed to harness humanity's unique resilience, with systems allowing operation in extreme conditions. Dr. Alan Wright stood in the viewing area of the Space Center, watching the massive ship take shape. The name Earth's Endurance had been painted on its hull in both human and Federation languages. Susan Garcia joined him, now wearing the formal uniform of Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Federation. "Ready for the big adventure?" she asked. Alan nodded. "I never imagined my career would lead to becoming the chief science officer on an interstellar mission." Beyond the window, human and alien engineers worked together. The aliens still wore protective suits, but they moved with greater confidence around their human colleagues, having learned which Earth conditions they could tolerate with training. The Federation has already identified 12 worlds previously considered too dangerous for settlement, Susan explained. With human teams leading the way, they believe these planets can be safely colonized. The ship's commanding officer, Captain Lisa Chen, approached them with a tablet displaying their mission orders. "Our first assignment is a planet with atmospheric composition similar to Earth, but stronger gravity and more frequent storms," she reported. "The Federation considers it extremely hazardous. We call it slightly challenging." The 3 humans laughed together, a sound their alien colleagues still found puzzling. The Federation species had evolved on worlds with minimal environmental threats, developing advanced technology instead of physical resilience. Humans had developed both. As sunset painted the sky orange, Alan looked back at Earth, the world that had shaped humanity through countless challenges and dangers. What the galaxy had labeled the deadliest planet had produced exactly what the cosmos needed, a species tough enough to thrive where others couldn't survive. The Federation had finally understood what humans had always known, that sometimes the harshest environments produce the strongest survivors.